So now I'm going to critique my trailer loading video with Winslow. I don't think it's too bad, but I want to kind of go over his body language a little bit. Um, so typical pressure release, I'm going to ask him to come up to the trailer. You can see he's pretty hesitant. Again, hesitant to come up there. I do want him to investigate. I want him to sniff it. I want him to look at it and kind of give him time to do that. That's going to be important. But I don't want him to, spend 20 minutes doing that. That's kind of not necessary, but I want to give him a little bit of time. So then I'm going to ask him to go forward a little bit more. It's basically at this point, and you can see his head turn away. He's like not really comfortable with going in there. It's going to be very simple or similar to the tarp. So kind of just putting a bunch of pressure on him until he kind of does what I want. So that's kind of be the downfall with the same kind of thing. It's going to be the horse is going to start associating that place preference or place avoidance with the trailer. So if I'm putting a bunch of pressure on him about the tarp or the trailer, that's going to be place avoidance. He's not going to want to go over there. Like he might get in because there's none of these other options are good, but that's not going to mean that next time he's going to want to go anywhere near the trailer because all of that is going to be a place where he wants to avoid it. So, and this is just going to be a lower level of other training scenarios and methods to do it. So you can see other ones where there's a lot more lunging and running and or pulling or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's still going to be the same. If I'm leading him in like this, because look, you can see he's turning his head. He's wanting to leave. He's trying to actively leave there. So if I'm using this where I'm just kind of leading him in, same thing. If I'm lunging him and sending him in, if I'm using a butt rope and pulling him in, those are all going to be the same. If I'm tapping him with the whip, all the same thing. It's all going to be pressure and no pressure in the trailer when you're all the way in the trailer. But there's still going to be pressure around the trailer. So it's like, it's a lose-lose type situation here because he doesn't want to go in already because he's a little afraid of it. You've already seen him try to look and turn and go away, but he's kind of stuck here. So like he's not he can't get away. He's on the halter rope. Horses know that. Some might try to pull away or rear and stuff like that. That definitely happens. But for a lot of them, they know they're caught and they don't really have any options. So they kind of go in and they just tolerate it, just like with all the other training that we've been doing. So that's kind of where we run into a problem because then it's like he didn't want to go in there, but he didn't really have a choice. And then he was like, all right, well, in this circumstance, I'll just go in there. But the next time I take him over there, he doesn't want to go near the trailer at all because it's just a bunch of pressure or the tarp or the jump or whatever it might be. So that's really the point that I'm trying to get across here versus when I'm using clicker training, he wants to get in the trailer. He wants to earn those reinforcers, and I'm not forcing him to do anything. Now, if you've seen my other videos, my horses are at liberty most of the time, or they have options. If they want to get out, they can get out. That's totally fine. Um, and they choose to go in, and that's the biggest part here because you can see him. He kind of tries because he really doesn't have any other options. You can see how tight he is. He's got his head up and he'll look away a lot, just like in the beginning when we were doing a lot of lunging. He'll look out and he'll want to go somewhere else. He's going to look where he wants to go, and he wanted to go off to the right a lot here. So he's trying here, and it's just going to be very similar to the tarp. So he's kind of testing it, making sure it's solid here. The other thing that is important when I see a lot happen during trailer loading, this specific trailer has that little like holds the door open. That's really important. Have your door held open by something. See way too many times where the door is not secured and it swings around, scares the horse, hits the horse. Just make sure that doesn't happen. You can see he's worried because he's using the bathroom or thinking about it. That's every time a horse goes into an arena and they're pooping, they're scared, they're frightened. So he didn't necessarily, but he's still in that state. So then he kind of was like, all right, fine, I'll get in. And so he gets in. It's really important that I let him get out and that I don't put pressure on him when he's in the trailer. He backs out nicely. Like he's decent at this. I think when I got him, he hopped in pretty good. You can still see here, like once he's out, he's really turning his head away and is like, okay, I got in, like let's go. So, but he's just kind of complying at this point. He's just complying with me. He's doing it, but he's not really like he's again just tolerating it. But he does a decent job coming in. Not the best angle, but or lighting, but he is going in. But you can kind of see him not really willing to back out. He kind of trying to bends his neck a little bit, so he's a little bit worried about that, which is pretty typical. And see more bending the neck because he doesn't really want to back out. I definitely could have prepped him a little bit better, had him like walk up on like a pallet or back over some poles or do some preparatory exercises or just even having him get 3 legs in the trailer and then back out and then trying that with the other hind leg, which I do a lot now with Dakota, just kind of getting them used to that. A lot of my training, my past training has been clumping a lot of behaviors together and a lot of steps together, and now I'm really trying to split that up and make little tiny pieces so that the horse can remain successful. So this is gonna be the same thing that you kind of saw with the other angle here, just from the outside. Um, but this is decent, like him standing in there. I want him to just kind of hang out in there. That's totally fine. Really, like I would like him to have like a food reward in there so he has some more like incentive to go inside. Because really he doesn't. It's just like he rather not have all this pressure put on him, so he just kind of does it, or he feels like he has to, which is really not an incentive at all. It's just, kind of just do it. So, and the other thing with that is like, um, when you have a training process that's like that, the horse is only going to give you enough to where you stop kind of pestering them and putting pressure on them. They're not going to give you any more than that. They're just going to kind of do the minimum to where you take the pressure away. It's not going to be like, oh, I'm going to do all this extra stuff. With clear training, they really want to do that extra stuff. They really want to earn that reinforcer, and there's a lot more like energy and just they want to participate more versus here they're just kind of forced to and like, all right, I'll do it, and then will you leave me alone? And that's the biggest part of that is that people fail to understand is the horse just wants them to be left alone. And that's why like you see a lot of like, okay, he does something great, well, I'll just go put him away really quick because that's a big release of pressure for him. But then when you think about it, it's like your presence, you working with them is a release of pressure. That's not really what I want, and that's not how I want to train. I want my horses to want me to come up to them and be excited when I'm there and be happy that I'm there and want to cooperate with me. And that's really why I've switched over. But here's just kind of a different angle. He's pretty good. Like he's going little baby steps, but he's really trying hard. He's doing awesome. Like I could have broken this down into a lot more steps for him, and but he's being fantastic. So but hopefully that makes sense with the trailer loading and the pressure being put on him there. Um, so um, I'm just trying to, yeah, you can see by his eyes there. He really, he was like looking behind him. He's trying to look out and away. So just trying to make it more of a partnership than a dictatorship and just having more incentive for the horse to want to participate. But hopefully this critique series helped you out and gave you some things to think about and could show you some different body language that we don't always see or don't always point out. So hopefully this series helped.